What's up, everyone? Good afternoon. This is the Make a Difference podcast, where every week you, the listener, along with us and my co-host Farah, we connect with individuals making a positive difference in the world, impacting the lives of individuals, communities, and beyond. And today we have the privilege of being with Isaiah Jackson, or as he's known in online communities as Bitcoin Zay. Isaiah, welcome to the Make a Difference podcast.
Thank you for having me. Glad to be here. Glad to be speaking with you both.
Yes.
Can I just start off really quick? I'm sorry. I just have to say this. I love that you're saying glad to be here. That is something that we say in our daily at Madwire. We say glad to be here. That's like our thing. So I love that you're saying that because we don't hear that very often unless it's in the confines of Madwire. So that's awesome. Sorry, I just
That's all good. We right here. Right here.
I just got to get that in.
Yeah, we right here. We totally connected.
Well,
continue, Darius. My bad.
Well, just to the listeners, everyone. So if you're not familiar with Isaiah and all of his exploits and what he does on a day-to-day basis, I'm just going to run through really quickly 3 quick points just so we have a grasp on who we are talking to. So from a business standpoint, Isaiah is the co-founder of KRBE Digital Assets Group, and they're an organization whose stated aim is to provide newcomers, investors, and business owners the tools they need to navigate the cryptocurrency ecosystem. He's also one half of the founding team of the Gentlemen of Crypto. It's a YouTube channel, and I was pretty astounded to see that in 3 years, you guys have over 600 videos. That's a lot of output. And he's also, arguably, most notably, the author of Bitcoin in Black America, both volumes 1 and the upcoming 2, correct? And it's a renowned book that's really aimed at changing the economic landscape of the Black community in America, in particular as it relates to financial independence, the banking system, and overall just the wealth building mindset. All that being said, that's correct, right, Isaiah?
Absolutely. Spot on, man. I appreciate the amazing intro.
Yeah,
man. Listening off the stuff, I'm like, man, take a break.
I've done a lot with my life. All right, man. Well, your field of expertise is the financial realm, and this is the Make a Difference podcast, where we are focusing on the actual arenas and people that are making a difference. And so, admittedly, so the cryptocurrency space is a space that Farah and I don't swim in that space a lot.
But maybe we will after this conversation.
I think it's a high likelihood we will be. And so, from that, I can see that that's your arena. But I think overall, from my vibe, from everything I've seen online, you're really someone who's an encourager. You're someone who wants to empower people and educate them. And so, maybe tell us a bit about the mission. What do you do? Who you are, what you're up to.
Oh yeah. So my overall life mission, I guess I would say, is freedom, complete and total freedom. Something that is definitely hard to get simply because there's a lot of things in place to keep you constrained, so you can't be as free as you want. But that's the goal, and I think it starts with money. If your money is free, everything else blossoms out of that. That's why Bitcoin was so interesting to me back in 2013 when I started. So that is the ultimate goal. And anybody who has been in the Bitcoin space or not been in the Bitcoin space, if you've heard of Bitcoin, usually it's presented as an investment or maybe tulips, maybe it's something terrible. Whatever is presented to you as, once you come around, you realize Bitcoin is, in my opinion, the foundation of what we believe freedom is. That's the goal, always.
So Bitcoin's pretty young, relatively young.
Yep.
You're young. So how do you even get to Bitcoin? Maybe take us back a bit. What's a little bit of your background?
Yes, let's take it back a bit. So 7, going on 8 years. In 2013, I was presented with Bitcoin from a roommate who was ironically a banker, and they discussed Bitcoin as something that could possibly be in the future someday. Like, they basically was just like pie in the sky type stuff. But he said it. He said the word Bitcoin. That's pretty much all I needed to hear, because he also said, "Hey, this is very tech focused. I don't want anything to do with it. I don't even know what they're talking about." But at the time, as a graduate in computer science, I was teaching computer engineering at the time for high school. It interests me. So I looked it up, and from a tech standpoint, it made sense. And I think that there is a personality type in the Bitcoin world, usually somebody who is aiming to push back against a lot of media and government influence. I think that's sort of a common theme. I'm one of those people as well. So when I found Bitcoin, it was like, I mean, when I say the light bulb, the ultimate light bulb went off. It was like everything you've been searching for, looking for to solve the issues that you face was rooted, I believe, in Bitcoin. Still believe that today. So that's how I got started. And going back to 2013, if you know about Bitcoin today, is institutional people, but back then it was very scary. It was Silk Road. It was which is an exchange where people were supposedly buying drugs, ordering hits on people. I mean, it was all negative press. Then you got Mount Gox, which lost billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin because they cheated and did whatever. So it's a very scary time. And also being black in the financial or fintech space,
Mm-hmm.
if you are somebody who goes with the flow back then, we're good. You mentioned Bitcoin, outside. Instantly, this is a crazy person. What are you talking about? So I just want people to understand that was the mindset back then. I've been told I'm crazy more times because I mentioned Bitcoin than anything else ever combined. So that's what the state of mind was back then. Moving towards today, definitely different. So definitely want to explain why.
So,
So
so
from
go ahead, Farrah.
we always do this.
Yeah.
we both start thinking of questions and then we just interrupt each other the whole time. So just be prepared for that. But I think what I would like to know is from 2013 to now, you were saying that in 2013 it was scary, it was crazy. So from there to now, where are we now with Bitcoin? It still seems as though a lot of people they know about it, but they're not sure if it's something they want to do, or maybe they hear about it and they're just like, oh, whatever. So from then to now where is Bitcoin, and how has maybe the security around Bitcoin changed?
So I like to always use the phrase that, whenever you have a great idea, first they laugh at you, then they fight against you, then they join you. Right now, we're at the very beginning stage of joining. That's what we're starting to see. PayPal now has Bitcoin payments. Cash App, you can get Bitcoin. I mean, it's almost as if every single institution that has the means to transfer money is moving towards Bitcoin, because at first they did laugh at us. It was a Ponzi scheme. It's tulips. You're crazy. Why would you invest in a digital currency you can't touch? Then it was the regulatory war. China banned Bitcoin dozens of times. The SEC, the CFTC, everybody got their hands into Bitcoin all of a sudden. It was like, in 2017, how did this asset go to 20K? It's like it's supposed to be, this fake money that nobody uses. Now it's very real, and we're at the joining stage. So I think in Bitcoin's history since 2013, what we've seen is people like myself. I've been saying it for years, but people need the proof, and the proof is in the pudding. It's the best performing asset of the last decade, the best performing asset this year. There's nothing anybody can do to take away your Bitcoin from you. So whenever you talk about a truly free money system, Bitcoin seems to be, and cryptocurrency in general, seems to be the route to go. So that's where we are. They're joining. If you are watching and as a individual, you're not sure, get sure, because anybody you look up to in the business industry, I can guarantee you, is exploring Bitcoin right now. A lot of them will not say their name in public. They will not say it out openly, but some will. I mean, Stanley Druckenmiller, maybe the best investor of our time, billionaire. 10% of his money is in Bitcoin. Second richest man in Mexico, 10% of his portfolio is in Bitcoin. Michael Saylor, billionaire, $425 million purchase of Bitcoin. So if you need somebody to listen to, it's probably the people who are billionaires and already have money. So I would say that's where we are now. We're in the joining stage. They're trying to figure out how to make money off of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that being said, I actually want to go back a little bit, because you said you had a light bulb moment.
Mhm.
And so to the listeners and to ourselves here, we're kind of at the cusp of this potential light bulb moment. So what was it that you saw illuminated as it pertains to Bitcoin? Because I think that might be the unlock for the person who is perhaps ignorant of what Bitcoin actually is.
Absolutely. So there were three main things, and the light bulb went off in the tech world. I don't want to get too techy, but as far as blockchain technology, that light bulb went off because anytime you have an immutable way to send value, without anybody being able to take it, and scarcity, meaning that it's only a certain amount. That's what drives value. So that was one light bulb, or part of the light bulb. Another one was when I realized every single fiat currency, which is dollars, the yen, every fiat currency that's ever been created has failed ever. So if you think the dollar is any different, if you think we're some magical species that could just make it, no, it's going to fail at some point. We just don't know when or how bad. And the last part that really made the light bulb go off for me was the fact that when you discuss how economies run, our economy is built to crash every 10 to 12 years, literally.
Mm.
So when Bitcoin was created in '08, we're in 2020 right now. We're at that 10 to 12 year mark. I always said to myself during this time period, if Bitcoin is real, then it will explode in price because it'll be the most proven store of value in what's happening. So those light bulbs went off, and I'm just basically proving myself right from 8 years ago. But those were the things that really I was like, So every fiat currencies fail. We're not backed by gold. 1971, we just started printing money. We just printed more money this year. Inflation kills. Our dollar has lost 99%. All these things. I'm like, this makes sense. This should have been created earlier, but it was created out of a need to change. After the '08 crash, a person or persons created Bitcoin, and here we are.
Innovation, absolutely.
Do we know who created Bitcoin? Is it like a secret? Is it anonymous?
That is a secret. We don't know, and some people think that is a negative. That is actually a positive. That means that there's no person or group to go after. There's no centralized force that can get shut down. There's no Bitcoin building. There's no hotline to call. You can't show up and demand Bitcoin stops. That's the best part. That is why I say Bitcoin reigns supreme of other cryptocurrencies. Any other crypto, you can target who created it. You can do whatever you need, and they can go away. Can't do that with Bitcoin. Pandora's box has been open.
Huh.
So
That's so interesting.
So, in my cursory examination of Bitcoin, that was actually what jumped out to me the most, and I might actually want you to touch on it, which is that decentralized component of it. So you typically, as a consumer of any good, there's that middleman of a bank, and I'm not a financial scholar or anything like that, but the notion of someone not being in the middle is a very intriguing thing. And so maybe in layman's terms, speak on that a little bit on why, because I think that really might be the most important piece that should really get anyone's attention about this as a vehicle.
Absolutely. So when you talk about peer-to-peer payments, the ability to transact without a third party, you have to remember, if you trust humans with the system we have now, you're going to have to pay humans. It costs way more. That's why you have more fees. That's why you have more middlemen, all of that. When it's software or math, that's very cheap. It's deployed once, upgraded, very available online. If that's what governs the decisions, then you have cheap fees. You have faster transaction time. You don't have all of these regulatory bodies having to sit in a meeting and then 2 years later make a decision about whether or not they're going to make a token a part of, SEC guidelines. All of that is human interaction. It costs too much money. It takes too much time. Software is literally eating the world. Bitcoin's a part of that because it's faster, it's cheaper. And in the digital world, what would you rather have? If the economy went away today and all you could keep was an ounce of gold or one Bitcoin, what would you keep? And I'm pretty sure most people would keep Bitcoin because you can't shave off pieces of gold. You can't really lug $1 million worth of gold with you in times of, if you need. So as a store of value, it's already proven it's better than that. And of course, as a peer-to-peer exchange, the ability to do it is very powerful because without that third man, it's cheaper for everybody and it's faster. We have an actual better world with peer-to-peer payments.
Now, outside of the transaction side, how does that relate to maybe personal wealth building, that decentralized component?
Absolutely. So everything we've been describing are the things that make Bitcoin valuable. The fact that it's portable, you can take it on your phone, your laptop. The fact that it's digital, you can do it online. All of these things is what makes Bitcoin valuable. But when you think about how Bitcoin operates, what makes you want to get in it and stay in it is the fact that when you first see a 40x or a 50x on the price, I can't describe to you the feeling of, hold up, this asset just made all of this money. Hold up, exactly why? that's when you start to go back and say, why does this have value to this community? And why is, the price of crypto and Bitcoin long term going up? It's programmed that way. It's programmed to be scarce, meaning everybody can't get their hands on it. But because of scarcity and rising demand, the price and value always goes up. That's Econ 101. All of the creators of Bitcoin or people who created a person had to realize was that if it's a secure money and it's scarce, that is the basis of what money should be. So because it is secure, the cryptographic side, and because it is scarce, provably, we can prove there's only 21 million Bitcoins that's gonna come out. We don't know how much gold is out there. We don't know how much silver. We don't even know how much real estate there is because people, you can, I mean, one of the best examples is the diamond industry. The De Beers Corporation owns 80, 90% of the supply. Diamonds are worthless in certain parts of the world, but they're worth
Right.
thousands, millions in other parts because they can say, we only have this supply. So if you want to buy it, it's only 10 diamonds left. So if you want to buy it, so that's how they drive the price up. That's what Bitcoin is, except it's provably scarce. Anybody can prove it, and it's decentralized. So again, the fact that Bitcoin's price goes up, crypto increases in price, only proves what the value is. Because I still think it's undervalued, very undervalued right now. Still very early, and even though it's denominated in USD, I tell people this: instead of looking at Bitcoin's price and saying it's worth 19,000, you should look at it and say it went from 6 cents to 19,000. The dollar has decreased that much since 2010. The Bitcoin is really an indication of how much the dollar is decreasing. So if you think of it that way, it's a no-brainer.
So I understand what drives the value of Bitcoin, but it ebbs and flows, right? Over time, if we look at the graphs, it ebbs and flows just like anything else. What other factors make the value either decline or increase?
Oh yeah. So when you're starting a currency from scratch, all right. If you think about any currency, forex, foreign exchange, digital, the yuan, the yen, the ruble, whatever, it has value based on the consensus of people who use it, right? And because it was agreed upon by people who use Bitcoin, that's what makes the value increase. Over time, market cycles exist because any currency starts off speculative. People speculate, I think it's worth this much, I think it's worth more, I think it's worth less. That happens. Market cycles are a thing. So because it's so early, we're seeing these drastic, volatile market cycles, but they're starting to get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And because more liquidity is going to come into the industry, more money is going to drive it. That will make it less and less volatile over time. However, volatility is good if you know what you're doing. So the reason I tell people Bitcoin, don't worry about the price, just dollar cost average into it. Um, except for 3 days, except for 3 days in Bitcoin's history, at the price Bitcoin is right now, every single person is profitable. If you were unlucky enough to buy Bitcoin on December 10th, 11th, and 12th of 2017, those are the only people that bought it above 19,000. Other than that, every single person is in profit. So how do you explain to another market of people who are constantly losing money, constantly jumping in and out, versus a group of people who say, hey, it's pretty much guaranteed if you stay in this market 3 to 5 years and the data supports it, 0% of people lost money. So as a store of value, what's better? And that's why Bitcoin's price continues to go and go forward. More demand, decreasing supply. Very, very simple.
Hmm.
So I think this could actually consume our entire time, our curiosity, and you educating us.
That's true.
Oh yeah, I
And
love it.
so, and so I actually want to come back to it, but I want to shift gears in a more personal arena. You wrote the book Bitcoin in Black America, and as I stated in the intro, we're talking about financial independence, uh, really uplifting individuals, and in particular the Black community, within the frame of the book. Why did you write the book?
Oh yeah, so I thought of the idea for the book back in 2015, 2016 in there. I remember it was right on the heels of the, what's his name? Michael, it was in Ferguson. The Ferguson events with the police after he got killed, there was a lot of unrest. Mike Brown, sorry. And there was a lot of unrest. And I had a friend who was white who was like, man, this is crazy. But is there anything we can do? Because apparently this has happened forever. And I didn't have an answer. I was like, I don't know what to do at this point. The only thing I know is that in the broader society, I've seen communities that do not have interferences by police because of their economic status. And by that, I mean with group economics. Living in LA for 3 years, one thing I saw, there are no police problems in the Korean communities because all the shops are owned by Korean people. And if you mess with somebody in that Korean community, you're either fired or the politician is gone instantly because you mess with them. Try to mess with a Jewish person in New York. Try to say something bad about a Chinese person in Chinatown. Those are some of the things I thought about, and I was like, with Black Americans, we don't really have this leverage. But one way to solve the solution is to have the economic base. So obviously, what we've done before hasn't worked. We've had a Black president, we've had Black politicians, we've had Black people own businesses, we've done everything. Nothing's changed. We still have the same median income since the 60s. So if nothing's changed and we're doing all this extra esoteric stuff, what about the economics? And that's where Bitcoin and Black America lined up with me. Also, too, the media that I used to see, it was eerily similar to how they describe Black people. Bitcoin is used for illicit drugs. Bitcoin is for drug dealers. Bitcoin is for crime. Bitcoin is terrible. Don't use it. Anything that challenges the status quo is always going to get this pushback from the media because they're owned by people who are Bitcoin's competition. So I put those two together, and I figured it's my duty in life to have at least one thing for my community. Of course, Bitcoin's for everybody, but I want to make sure that I literally wrote it for the Black community because they would have the resources. But once other people in other communities read it, they'll be like, we can apply the same stuff. It's just a different community, which to me is the beautiful part of it.
Word. So, being a Black man, originally I'm from the inner city, and I'm curious to know, looking at the the economic vehicle, so economic empowerment. Even Dr. King himself said, like, you can't legislate change. Like, you can't. It's through economic ownership, economic positioning, right? And so, when I think about this,
so we start talking about
you're absolutely
economics.
right.
2 weeks later,
You're right. And same thing happened to Abraham Lincoln when he was looking at economically helping, so I tend to think of it, your perspective, at least the way you're communicating, it makes me think of people like Thomas Sowell, Walter Williams,
rest in peace, Walter Williams.
John Hope Bryant, these individuals today who are really trying to champion economic empowerment in our community. But at the same time, I think one could submit that within our community, our mindset towards economics isn't necessarily where it should be. And so how has that been for you? How has that experience been? Being this voice of an alternative opinion, how has that experience been?
Yeah, so studying a lot of economic people like Walter Williams, like Thomas Sowell, like Dr. Claude Anderson, like others, the one thing I saw that prevented them from being mainstream, so to say, is, well, not the only thing, but a couple things. One was they were older. Older people, when they speak, younger people, they might listen, but they don't feel related to you. Like, they're like, okay, cool. Well, when I get older, I'll listen to that. I remember feeling that when I first read it when I was 24. I'm like, yeah, when I'm like 35 and I got a family, I'll think about all that stuff. So that's the first thing. They were older. Second thing is they presented ideas that challenge Black people being oppressed. That didn't resonate with a lot of people, especially Black politicians whose only job is to make sure Black people feel oppressed so they can get back in office. And then they can keep saying, see how oppressed you are? See how terrible it is with Black people? If you can keep that going, you keep getting elected. As soon as Black people are like, we're fine, we're just out here trying to do it for ourselves, what is your use? There's no need for you as a politician to try and promise me all these things. So I think that message didn't resonate because that was their message. The difference of what I'm doing and how I tried to twist it a bit was, for one, I'm younger. So I think it resonates more with college students, people in high school. I literally talked to Howard yesterday, and I've spoken to other colleges. I think it resonates more. Also, too, the solution is not necessarily saying, hey, there's no excuses, nothing. You should always do it. It is, hey, we have a way for you to be financially free. You either take the opportunity or you don't. If you don't, then there's no excuses. So I think that's sort of how I tweaked it, because with Bitcoin, what is stopping you? I mean, if you ask somebody what's stopping you from getting into Bitcoin, if they say money, do you have $1? You can buy it on Cash App right now. There's no more excuses. It's like, okay, well, I want to start a business, but I can't get a bank account. Okay, can you download a crypto wallet? And then you can start a business. So all of that, I believe, is the message I push. And all of these great economic minds, it was sort of lost in the wind in the Black community, only because I think people who were in power just disregarded it and said, hey, don't listen to them. Don't be individual. Listen to us because you need our help. You need the government's help. You need us to give you stuff. And I think that's sort of a fight we've been seeing since, I mean, going back years to the W.B. Du Bois days versus, I mean, it goes back a
Booker
while.
T, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yes, it's Booker T.
Absolutely.
So yeah, so we've seen that before. Black people are not a monolith. We don't all think the same thing, and I think most people think we do. So they put us in a group and say, "This is what you all need." Economics gives you the freedom to say, "Hey, let's all agree on this in Bitcoin. This should be our foundation. Now go do what you want. I don't care what religion, political, social, doesn't matter. Let's start here with this political or this economic base. Then I don't care. There's plenty of Black people I don't agree with. I don't. That doesn't. That doesn't. That's not the big unifier to me. I don't think we're all going to unify around anything ever completely, but Bitcoin should be at least. We should at least try.
Yeah, I dig it,
So,
man.
I can literally go into Cash App right now and buy Bitcoin in Cash App.
$1 worth of Bitcoin all the way up to I think the limits of 10, 20,000. I think you can increase them. $1. So
Hey,
next time you have a friend that says I can't afford $19,000 Bitcoin, tell them two things. You can buy a fraction of a Bitcoin and you can buy $1 worth on Cash App right now.
well, I'm gonna do it.
Yep.
I'm
Just
gonna
buy a
buy
dollar.
Bitcoin today.
Yeah,
Okay, how
exactly.
about you
See?
do it now? I'm
I
gonna keep
succeeded.
talking. You do it now.
You want me to do it right now?
Do it right now. Strike while the iron's hot.
All right.
Do it now. I'm gonna keep talking to Zay.
Well, I'm gonna keep listening while I do this.
Okay, for sure. Uh, okay, so stepping one layer outside of that, where does life find you today? So you're making a difference in entrepreneurship, crypto. You're doing this stuff, but where are you at today? Are you a married father? What's going on in your life?
Oh yeah. So I have a beautiful girlfriend and we just had a daughter 1 month ago. So I have a
Oh,
1 month old.
congratulations!
Thank you, thank you. I have a 1 month old in the back crying as we speak, just trying to muffle it with the door.
I
But
can't hear her at all.
well, I was saying we closed the door. She's back there with us. But yes, my baby girl. So yeah, I'm a new father. So of course she has Bitcoin, and that's the thing too. I tell people, hey, when your kid is born, I mean, you can put a retirement account, you can put a bank account, but my daughter actually owns Bitcoin. As soon as she can read, she has a private key. She can read it. It's hers. I don't have to pass it over to her when she turns 18. She has it. So yeah, that's where I'm at now. One of the biggest things too was moving from LA back to my hometown of Charlotte to start a family. And I did that as I'm writing the second book. So it's been a whirlwind, very, very much so the last few months. So that's where I'm at. And as far as relating to the Bitcoin community going forward, COVID kind of brought the tour to a screeching halt. But once things are somewhat open, I'll be back on the road because I like speaking to people in person.
What is that?
Oh yeah, we got our first Bitcoin
Let's go.
purchase live on the
Let's
show.
Let's
Beautiful.
go, Farah.
See how easy? You see how easy that was? You see
That
how?
was, guys, for anyone listening, like I literally just did that. It took me 3 taps on my phone. That was ridiculous. I can't even believe it. And now I'm a proud Bitcoin fraction of a Bitcoin owner.
Well, you're a Bitcoiner, and you don't have to own a whole Bitcoin. You can own.
Can't wait to tell Bobby.
Yeah. Look, yeah.
All right. Well, now that that's done, I have a question.
Mhm.
Best advice, worst advice you've ever received?
Man. So, oh boy, which one do I want to start with? Let's start with best advice. The best advice I've received was from Max Kaiser when he said buy Bitcoin in 2013. I mean, really, I mean, if you've never heard of it and then you hear some millionaire going crazy about something like Bitcoin, and it's like, why would he care? He made millions on Wall Street. Why would he care that much? That was the best advice. Like, buy Bitcoin today. Stop thinking about it. Buy it right now. If you have, like, he was literally just adamant. He was like, stop complaining about whatever, whatever. Just buy Bitcoin and wait. And that was probably the best advice I got because it took me down a whole whirlwind of a bunch of things. So, worst advice. I didn't take this advice, but the day before I moved to LA, which is 2017, which is basically when everything basically took off in the market, business got started, show got started, books started getting written. The day before I left for LA, I was told to stay in Charlotte and get a regular job by my aunt, which I won't name her. But that was the worst advice that she could have given me because in her mind, stability is rule over everything. When I told her I started a business in that January and then I was moving by June, she literally was like, "No, you should stay here and just get a regular job until you're on your feet." If I had followed that, the book probably wouldn't have ever came out. Probably wouldn't have had the show. Definitely wouldn't have started or kept up with the business. And looking back on it now, we laugh about it. Me and my aunt. I was like, "What if I had stayed when you told me to stay here and get a regular 60,000 a year job in IT like I was before?" And she was just like, "I'm glad you didn't." It's like because now she has Bitcoin. Now you know what I mean. Like now, so that was probably the worst advice, but it came from a good place.
Yeah, yeah.
How many people do you think in the last 7-8 years have you been able to share all of this with and watch people actually now purchase it? I count as one. I just did that.
So far, thousands. I've lost count. Indirectly, probably a few tens of thousands. Trying to get that up into the millions with enough content, enough outreach. But it's also too about reaching a certain type of person. I'm the type of person I don't necessarily try and convince people to buy Bitcoin. I just try to show them by doing. So if somebody wants to learn, I'm all for it. I'll teach you whatever you need. You know what I mean? So it's less because of that. If I just was like, "Hey, everybody, buy Bitcoin, please," is that. But I want people who want to know about it, who want to learn about it, because the message is a lot easier. I don't have to. Early on, I was going back and forth with people for 30 minutes trying to convince them that Bitcoin was real before I could explain it to them. So
Right.
I don't do that anymore. So yeah, definitely, it's something that I push heavily.
Cool.
So segueing off of that, people who want to learn. So that's your mission. That's the space in which you're operating in. Apart from yourself, or even within your body of available content. Where can people go to begin to mine some of this information? Don't mind the pun there, but where can people go to start getting educated or connecting even with you, consuming content or following other people who might communicate with them better or whatever?
Absolutely. So for myself, the Gentleman of Crypto Daily Show, we do that show 30 minutes a day just to keep our crowd updated. Any updates on the market, you don't have to read 30 articles like we do. We keep you updated. So that's one way. We also have over 20 tutorials, different ways to get on exchanges, trading tutorials, buying on different platforms, all of that stuff on the
All
channel.
within YouTube?
All on YouTube. KRBE Crypto. Yep. The Gentleman of
You
Crypto.
got a playlist?
On the
Playlist
whole
of those
playlist.
tutorials?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
cool.
22 videos, I believe, on that playlist. So, yep. You can view all those. Also, I would say a great resource is any video you can find by Andreas Antonopoulos. I know it's a hard name to spell, but if you just put Andreas, Andreas, Bitcoin, he's basically synonymous with it. He wrote 2 books, or 3, sorry. Mastering Bitcoin 1 and 2, and then he wrote Mastering Ethereum. He also wrote Internet of Money. Sorry, 4 books. He's probably the biggest philosopher, biggest name in Bitcoin, so to say. Person I learned from a lot. So he's great to watch. Any videos by him, because he was talking about Bitcoin to like embassies and like people in government in 2011, and there'll be like 4 people there. So he's been around way longer. I would say a website lopp.net/Bitcoin. Lopp is a developer. He's been in the game a long time. He works for Casanode, this company. Probably the best resources I would say altogether. lopp.net/Bitcoin. And I would say Block Geeks if you want something from a business rather than just an individual person. Block Geeks, they have actual courses you can take. You can be a certified blockchain person. You can learn about Bitcoin, you can learn about other cryptocurrencies for traders, for engineers, developers. They have it all there. So Block Geeks is another resource, and there's so many out there. You have to know who to trust, who's giving you good information. I think our track record speaks for itself. We've been here. I've been here for 2 bear markets. Didn't go anywhere. Still doing a daily show. Some people will have big followings. They may have a big channel, and then they're gone as soon as the price goes down because they don't actually. They're not here for Bitcoin. They're here for price. They want to see money and whatever. So I would tell people if you look up anything, and you're like, oh, this looks like a good channel. This looks like they know what Google them first and put scam beside it. Some of them, they were scamming back in 2014. They just rebranded. So new people don't know it, but I know it. I trust, and I don't want anybody to get caught up with some people. I don't want to name names, but there's some people that you absolutely have to stay away from. They will scam you.
So tell us about KRBE, Digital Assets Group. Just so, because we want people to know what you're up to. You're making the difference. So tell us about that.
So KRB Digital Assets Group was a business started by me and my business partner King because we saw a lack of education in the Bitcoin market in 2016. There was literally 10 or 11 scams that we researched and showed people this is not Bitcoin. Because when people were first hearing about it back then, they thought that was Bitcoin. It was really just a third party who was using Bitcoin as a way, multi-level marketing, scamming, whatever. So that was the first thing we realized. We have to show people that it's not a scam and how it's not a scam. So we started off consulting people we knew, people that would ask us, and it got kicked off because I made a post in 2015 on IG. I never talked about Bitcoin before, but I made a post. Bitcoin was $247 at the time. You can believe that. Made a post. It got a lot of people were like, "Was it? Yeah, what is this Bitcoin stuff?" People hit me up. We scheduled consults. First few were free. I was just doing it out of love. Linked up with him. He had the same thing. He was getting out of the Navy. He had a lot of questions because he was involved in Bitcoin. So we're like, you know what? Let's start a consulting and education group. We did that. We have 3 Bitcoin starter guides that I actually wrote. So Bitcoin in Black America isn't really my first book. It's the first one that's published on Amazon. But I wrote 3 Bitcoin starter guides before that. So we had those, and then we had the daily show, and then we also had the consulting with individuals and groups, which we continue to this day, but now it's purely groups, only groups now.
Word. I like that, man. That's cool. So what are you afraid of?
Oh man, being told what to do by other adults, that irks me to the highest degree. I don't think people understand. Like, I was already rebellious as a kid, so it was a good rebellion because I would push back against my mom, and she would be like, "That's good because your brain's working, but sit down." You know what I mean? So, but as an adult, yeah, like I'm glad she gave me the opportunity to express myself so I could have different views of thought. But as I became an adult, I was like, there are literally other adults that are telling me I can't do something because you said it. No, that's my worst fear, is to have somebody absolutely tell me what to do, because my absolute goal is freedom. So that's the antithesis of what I'm doing when you're trying to explain to me that, hey, you need to do this because I said it. I'm like, I'm a grown ass man. I'm not listening to you just because you say it. I'm going to do my research. I'm going to figure it out myself. That's my biggest fear. I hate being told what to do.
So being in the position where you can even be told what to do.
Yes, I can't fathom, especially like as a parent now, and telling my kids, yeah, just listen to what other people tell you, even if you're on the same level as them. Just listen to them. Yeah, they're not. I mean, I don't like to bash people that much, but most of the regulators and people in government, they're not smarter than you. They just have the position to tell you this is what you're supposed to do, and it's usually a group effort, so it's not even them individually. I just can't stand it, especially because it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So one question we like to ask is, what is your favorite quote and why?
Man, that's a good one. Oh man. I think my favorite quote is anyone who freely gives up security for, or gives up their freedom for security, deserves neither. And I think I've lived by that with everything. If at any point you give up your freedom to do something in order to feel more secure, either by the state or by another person, you don't deserve either one of them, because there's no such thing as a free lunch. You're not going to get freedom by just existing and being like, please give it to us. No, you're going to have to work for it. And if somebody says, I'm doing this for your safety, for your security, the first thing you should think to yourself is, I'm an adult. I can secure it and save myself. I'll figure it out. So that's my favorite quote. I live with that. I use that. And I think it's pretty much the motto of Bitcoin. It's like security of the dollar. If you believe, I want to stick with that because I'm unsure about the freedom of Bitcoin, you don't deserve either, really. You deserve exactly what you get. And somebody quoted, you always buy Bitcoin at the price you deserve.
Okay. That's real. Okay. So, I think this is an appropriate time to, the last thing that we like to do on the Make a Difference podcast is, so we've been your captive audience. We've enjoyed this time connecting with you, but suppose you have, let's just say 100,000 people listening to you, whether they're in Ferguson, Detroit, or Malibu. Um, you have, just take a few minutes and maybe share a message with them. Feel free to compose your thoughts if you need to, but share a message to the people. Yeah, just share something.
Okay, I got you. So in regards to Bitcoin for the people, this is the first currency we've ever seen built for the people. And what that means is we have the ability for the first time in our lifetimes, or anybody that's alive lifetime, to free ourselves economically. And what that means is if you are free economically, you can free yourself up for other things. And a lot of the problems that we have today are a result of the money system. If you don't realize that, let me explain it to you. So, when you think about issues socially, when you say that there's homeless people on the street, there's wealth inequality. We just had a coronavirus and we've had corporate socialism with corporations getting billions of dollars. That's a result of our current money system. It is inflationary in nature. It is crony capitalism. It is built for the rich to win. Bitcoin is built for the workers, quite literally, to win. If you have a miner, the work it puts in accumulates Bitcoin. If you are a human being who puts in work, you earn Bitcoin. But because production levels increase always over time, your value of Bitcoin will as well. So for those of you who are listening in any city, anywhere in the world, you have to understand most of the problems you have are a result of the economic system we are in. It's no fault of your own for the most part, if you are a hardworking person. But Bitcoin to me is the answer to a lot of problems down the road. And that can happen by just starting today. As you saw earlier, buy $1 worth of Bitcoin very simply, and you can move from there. And if you think about Bitcoin in the sense of how it can change you as a person, you have to change your way of thinking, and then Bitcoin absolutely will grab you from that point forward.
Awesome. Well, to finish up here, tell people how they can find you, find the books, how they can connect with you.
Yes, the best way to connect is Twitter at BitcoinZay, ZAY. Also on Bitcoin and BlackAmerica.com. Both books are available. The first one's available for order, second one for pre-order, and you can contact me on there as well. So either one of those, you can contact me. And of course, if you want to chop it up or have a meeting time, I'll have my Calendly up after the book is fully released to have some meeting time. So yes, definitely love to speak with people and set up shows like this or opportunities down the road.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate your time. I learned a lot.
Oh,
I don't
hey,
know
I tried
about
to squeeze
everyone
it
else
in within an
listening.
hour, but
Yeah, like I
it takes
feel
time.
like it's funny. I feel like Darius said at the beginning, we really wanted to talk about the difference that you're making in the Black community, but we went down this rabbit hole of me just being so curious about Bitcoin. I feel like we could have talked for hours. So thank you for your time and thank you for all of the great info. Thank you for what you're doing to make a difference in this world. It's appreciated and it goes far. So thank you.
I appreciate it.
Yes.
Yep,
Thank
absolutely.
you,
I'll keep
Zay.
going.
Yes. And this has been another episode of the Make a Difference podcast. Farah, Darius, Zay, Bitcoin Zay. Have a great day, everyone.